Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I don't know how to quite start this video, but we shall just get into it, I suppose. I want to start a small series of shorter videos. We'll see how long they last. It's going to be the first one. Basically, more to the point, taking you through the way I would interpret things on a symbolic level, if that makes sense. The reason is symbolism's quite hard to just get without seeing something. So I want something visual, something sort of in small chunks, easy to grasp. And I was, for example, I was explaining to a friend, Toby Claxton, some symbolic terms, and I was like, hold on a minute. It'll be more easy to understand if you just see it. And I happen to have this in my bag. Green Monk, Blood of Martyrs. It's a graphic novel. Took him through that. It's very good for symbolism. And he found it very helpful. He said, you know what, Josh, you should do this on your ATT YouTube. So that's what we're going to do. Ben's not here. I want this to be more to the point. We can have a discussion about it as a podcast, maybe after the fact of these videos. You can see if you had any questions, etc., etc. But we shall just get into it, okay? And check this out. Bam! Overhead camera. I spent the last week or so making this wooden contraption that would hold my phone. Anyway, just finished it earlier this afternoon. But anyway, let's get into it. So, Green Monk, Blood of Martyrs. I'm going to be doing the whole series on with this graphic novel, and potentially more in the future. You will be able to. There are obviously spoilers, but I will recommend getting this for yourself. It's like £8 brand new on eBay. It's 100% worth the money. Just get it yourself, have a flick through it, and then watch this with go through the book with me, or read it and then reread it going through with me. I think that'd be the best way. I don't want to completely just rip off this book, so that's my thoughts anyway. But we'll go straight into it. I'm gonna narrate the first chunk, every chunk of what I'm gonna be going over, and then I'll go back and analyze it symbolically, because like symbolism, you need to have it in the context of the narrative to fully understand what it means symbolically, because okay, we'll just get into it. Okay, so we've got this, it's in a blizzard, and you see this masked figure. Who are they? Who knows? Oh, spooky. Right. Anyway, in the distance, there's this monastery. This is set in like a semi-fantastical Russian area. That's the religion is Russian Orthodoxy, Christian Orthodoxy. So that's the context anyway. So in this place, we see two old men, and one of them's writing, one of them's clogging up some joints in the boards, get the cold out, and we shall go into it. Apologise for my vain attempts at accents, but hopefully it'll be more engaging. Okay. Blood coals all you want, but we'll still run out of firewood before the morning. Fine. I'll get wood, but you're changing the chamber pots. The man climbs out and goes outside. I get older and the snow gets deeper. That should do till morning. He hears a rattle at the door, or the gates even. At this ungodly hour, what else could it be? Barbarians. Spirits. Evil spirits? What other kind are there? Whoever it is, they won't last long in this storm. Well, go ahead. They open these great gates, and what do they see? This mysterious figure again. It's a woman holding a child. They run out to take her in. You were right. She's from the mountain tribes. Look at these marks. Mount Oleg. She's made a journey in the winter that most men don't risk in the best of conditions. And she was wearing this. The Cross of Idriska. They must have raided the nunnery. A bad harvest in the long winter, and even the walls of Novgorod aren't safe. Much less the walls of God. She's back on holy ground now, and paid the price for it. Insert a baby crying. I'm not gonna do that, so I'm glad to hear. Check this out. That's enough of that. Okay, you're immersed. So this man, old man again. They're all old men. You should notice that. Is running forth with this child. I don't know what to do. I'm not a nursemaid. A woman in the novices' dormitory. Brother Cyril, the novices' dormitory has been empty for years. So now you can pick and choose whether to obey the laws of our order. Where would you have me put her? In the stable? It was good enough for the Holy Virgin. It's good enough for a heathen. Do not let him die a heathen. He must be baptized. I'm not showing this properly. My apologies. Do not let him die a heathen. He must be baptized. Of course, we will raise him as one of us. Do not let him die in wickedness. He will be raised in holiness. And this woman dies in the hands, holding the hands of this monk, who seems to be a leader. So, this child, I need to make sure I'm keeping this in frame, but forgive me. So, the child gets baptized, it seems, and he's having a whole bunch of fun with these old men, as it seems. Some people are more interested than others. Yeah, getting a bath, going out, having a crack. No, so he gets given to in possession of this particular old man here. He must be some sort of scribe, or he's writing or something, and he's been tasked with having a look over this child. And he's like, he doesn't like that. Look at his face. So alright, we cut that there. I accidentally started explaining things, because that's my personality. But it's my first time, obviously. We'll try and stick to the narrative for now. Anyway, so this man, like a scribe, he's been given the possession of this young infant, and he's not really happy about that. He's like, this is a waste of time. He's a distraction to my works, my important works, my old man works. But I have to do it because it's been given to me. This infant, being an infant, he runs away. He's like, and this guy's being negligent in his attention. He's not been paying attention. This child ran away. So, this old man has been forced to run after this child like an idiot. And you can see, he's actually he got him finally. Happy days. He got possession of this young child, and he's actually crying. Oh, isn't this a beautiful story? Oh, beautiful story. Old man crying, child's having fun playing with the butterflies, isn't that great? So this old man is like, okay, let's embrace this child. He starts to teach him the ways of Christianity, it seems. Some of the other old men teach him about words and stuff, how to make baskets. This man's like, here, feed this deer. Isn't that cool? You can feed deer. This child's loving it. So this child grows up in the monastery. Okay, he's been brought up in the ways of these monks, and it seems he's getting the Eucharist, the Lord's Supper, communion, whatever you want to call it, and everyone's happy about that. And he sees this big stained glass window or engraving on a wall or a painting. I'm not sure. I can't really tell from. Must be a painting. I'm not sure. But anyway, it depicts some people, and at the center it's the Holy Virgin, Mary, Mother of God, the Queen of Heaven, holding the Christ child, Jesus Christ as a child. And he looks up that in wonder. And that is where we're going to end this chunk, I think. Let me just take this off camera, just let me check. Yes, that is where we're going to stop for now. We're going to go back in time. We're going to go back. We're going to interpret it symbolically. Okay, so the scene is dark, can't see, blizzard, can't see, masked figure, can't see them, mysterious. Who are they? Undefined. You can't. It's harder to find things in the darkness. It's harder to find things in blizzards, in storms. Okay, it's a storm breaks down things. Even if a storm, say if there's a house that wasn't built too strongly to resist such storms, it will not be a house anymore. It'll be some rubble, some ruins. Okay. So not only is it harder to define things in a storm makes things less defined if that thing succumbs to its forces, if that makes sense. Okay. And because we're time travels from the future, we know this masked figure is a feminine character. Okay, and symbolically, that plays in the same structure. If you can imagine the yin and yang symbol. Hold on, check this out. I'm gonna blow your mind. Check this out. Bam. Does that work? Yes. You wonder how I know how to do this thing. Anyway, yin and yang symbol. If you imagine the white is supposed to represent masculinity or order. If you've listened to Jordan Peterson, you'd probably hopefully be aware of this. The black part is chaos or femininity. Okay, lightness and darkness. Now, let's go back. Bam. Okay. Now, these are quite hard concepts if you haven't even remotely went into symbolism. Some people feel like that's saying that's darkness is feminine. Sometimes people think that's degrading. They don't actually understand what it means, unfortunately. But if you imagine, now all this is like, a woman is not entirely feminine and a man is not ever entirely masculine, but men tend to be more masculine than women, obviously. But again, it's not a rule. Let that be clear. You can have more feminine men and you have more masculine women. Now, masculinity, a masculine trait would be defining order. You are under my rule, I'll take control. Okay, I'm the leader, you follow my commands. Okay, think about like a builder. Right, my dad's a builder. That's a masculine role. Not just because like 99% of builders are men, probably more than that, but because think about it symbolically, right? He's taking the material earth. He's taking earthly things like wood and concrete, and he's fashioning something out of it. He's defining it. He's taking the potentiality. That wood could be anything, right? I made that stand out of wood, right? But it could have been a skirting board. That's what I was using. It was a bit that you could have, if you've put a writer to it, it could be a skirting board. But it's now that, because I've imposed my masculinity, I've defined its order from its potentiality. Okay, it's now that. It's not going to be a skirting board anymore. It's now a stand to hold my phone. And the call for femininity is to be more submissive, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, but I'm definitely going off the rails here, I think. So I have this feminine person, and that's supposed to be adding to the symbolism of mysteriousness, undefined. Think about like the moon. The moon's a feminine, symbolically feminine. In Western symbolism, at least, and I don't know much about Eastern symbolism, but anyway, think about it. Say, what does the moon do? It goes in cycles. It's not one thing. It's not as defined. It's an unveiling and a covering, an unveiling and a covering. Is it a full moon? Is it a half moon? Is the moon always radiating its glory on you? No. Is it sometimes covered? Yes. Just think about these things. It's also linked to, like, what's it called? Periods. They're like there's a cycle that's tied somewhat. It's in the same. It's like a monthly kind of thing. The moon changes, like that kind of same sort of time period. Anyway, let's get back to the book. Future Josh is going to cut in here just to say a good example of a real life masculine and feminine encounter. Now, if you imagine in terms of romance or courting someone, the man is usually the one who's like, right, you have to ask the girl out. The man does that. That's a masculine thing to do. You have to pay for the meal. Okay, that's a masculine thing to do. Something I agree with as well, mind you. But what does a feminine do? Do they sit around, do nothing? Well, not really, but not in the same. But they don't have the same role as the man does. Now, what I mean by that? Okay. If you imagine the girl would have a much more, if they're having an active role in trying to get this guy to be her boyfriend or whatnot, it'd be in a more mysterious kind of way. Now, what should she do? Now, she's not gonna go up to the guy and like, will you go out with me? No, that's not really how it's done. But what she should do? Oh, I'm a girl and I've I've left my bag here, or I've dropped my thing in front of this guy on accident. Oh, right. And then the guy's thinking, oh, hold on a minute. Here's a chance to break the ice with this girl. Isn't this a good idea I've had all by myself? Right. That's the role of. That's a nice example of the feminine. So it's a more mysterious kind of way. And hey presto, the guy's like, oh, here's this thing you left behind, right? Oh, we're chatting now. Oh, do you want to maybe go out? And the girl's thinking, it's back to is all my plan, but it's not a masculine direct plan. A man would be more forthright, and it should let it be known. Men are not good at reading mysterious things. Okay, but yeah, let's go back to it. Darkness. Old men. Picture of old men. Now, you've probably noticed all these people are old men. Apart from this person, this feminine character, the child, everyone else is old men. If you can imagine it as this is like. If you imagine masculinity and femininity, they're not necessarily good in themselves, either of them, but this is representing how the good feminine can revitalize the sort of a bad masculine. If that makes sense. Not necessarily bad masculine. It's like if you imagine these men represent tradition. Okay, dead tradition. They're getting old. There's no new life in the monastery. They're dying. Okay, this whole picture of death. This is covered in their monastery's covered in snow in a blizzard. This picture image of death. Death are encroaching on these old men. Okay. Let's go. So, as a surprise in the midst of the night, there's a knock. And these old men decide, we're going to open this, we're going to let this person in. And it's this feminine character. And this feminine character is holding a child. And that's correct. That's correct. And why is that correct? The feminine allows for the potential of new life. Potential of death, but also new life. That's the mystery of the feminine, so to speak. There's a reason why the stories of rebirth are always in the midst of death or darkness. Jonah was in the belly of the big fish, the belly of Sheol, the belly of death, right? And that's a sea creature. That's another feminine symbol. But hopefully these things will come to you. Imagine the ocean's like an ocean's not defined. You look at a wave, it's constantly changing, isn't it? Right? It's a liquid. Liquids don't hold the same form. It's a feminine sort of. It's undefined. You can't point to what's that part of the sea called. Well, it's just the sea, isn't it? It's just the sea. What's that wave? Oh, it's gone. Anyway, so it's a representation of death, but also potential of new life. Christ arose in a tomb, in a cave, and there's something mysterious about it because no one saw the resurrection. No one saw the resurrection, and even after the resurrection happened, it is mysterious. He appeared to the disciples without. They didn't realize. Oh, he's here. But then he ate food, and there's something mysterious about that. It's like he's not just like within the clouds, something solely spiritual. But he's not solely grounded normally, materially, like we are. Is there something, and there's nothing that you can point to necessarily that could easily explain that other than mystery. And that's part of the story. That's not that's part of the narrative, so it is. But anyway, continue. So this feminine character, in the midst of darkness, death, brings the possibility of new life to these old men. Okay, the possibility for their tradition to be revitalized, given new eyes to discern, to see the future, solve the problems that they couldn't. Okay, that's why they're dying. Why do we die? Because we can't solve the problem of death. Right? Hopefully our children can do that for us. That's what children are. We continue. Okay. So this woman, she's in a bad state, it seems. Look at her feet, that's disgusting. Frostbite and all that. Future Josh is back. I just want to be really thorough, but I'll try and speed up because watching back, I'm speaking quite slowly. But I'm also thinking this isn't scripted. But imagine this. Look at this image of the woman's feet. Okay, really to the point. Symbolism here. Why is this been shown? Why is this picture been shown to show her as she's dead? She's dying. She's on her last sort of stretch of life here. Why? If you imagine it as she's being overtaken by by death. That sounds stupid, but she's been taken over by what death does. What does death do? It makes things lost to potentiality. It makes the principle, okay, makes the principle be disassociated with the body. Okay, what happens when people die? Right, the principle, right, and their body are gone. Okay, they're not they're not found as, oh look, that's Jerry over there. Right, it's a memory of Jerry, and it's Jerry's grave. Okay, and Jerry's grave is now, or his dead body is now, even as time passes, which is another element of death as opposed to time, right? As time passes, the body decomposes further. It becomes dirt and worms. Okay, there's no longer Jerry's body anymore. It's lost its principle. Okay, his spirit is in heaven. Okay, he's no longer on earth. And why feet? Why feet? That's what holds us up, right? We walk on our feet. It's what holds our head, the principle. Our head is the principle. Our head guides our body to do the things it does. Without our head, the body is not animated anymore. Okay? If we lose our mind, we lose control over our body. And similarly, if our body feels, it cannot hold its principle. As we get older, our body feels. If we do, say, if we're engaging in sports, an old man engaging in sports isn't the same as a young guy engaging in sports. He may think that what he wants to do is the same in his head, same strategy. All right, I'm going to jump up there. Well, say it's a game of football. Right, I'm going to outrun this guy. I'm going to shit back in the net. Right, he thinks that. Right, but he does it. Oh, flip! I didn't move there. I wasn't quite as fast as I was. My body's given up on me. It's not holding to the principle of what I've planned. That's why this is a good image to represent how she's dying. But again, back to the narrative. But anyway, this child, it's crashed in the place. It's like, wah! It's cut in, right? He's violating. Yes, it's bad enough people are dying, but he's violating something. He's like shrieking, right? And this guy doesn't know what to do. Aptly, an apt response. He doesn't know what to do, right? We can't necessarily control new life as we should want, or else it wouldn't be new life. But anyway, this person promises to raise him up in holiness, and he grows up. And some people are really responsive; they're loving this kid. But this one guy, at least, it's the same guy actually. In all these pictures, he's indifferent. He doesn't like them. He's like, this. Who cares? You know. He's like, bah. Kid, I'm not bothered. You know. He's like, I'll rather be doing the work of God's, the traditions, than what he thinks is holiness. But nevertheless, he's forced to take care and have an answer to this. And that's what children are again. You know, if you have a child, your life changes for better, for worse, and you can't avoid it. You know, you can't avoid it. Your life is gonna be flipped upside down in ways you wouldn't even imagine. And this guy's a good response. This is my favorite scene. If you'd believe it, this is my favorite scene in the whole book, and it's when this guy, indifferent, looks down. Oh crap! This child's gone, right? And now this guy, who's been closed in his traditional ways, he's in a rut. He's been doing the same thing over and again, and it's hard to break. But all of a sudden, bam! This child's running to the hills. He's like, I didn't expect that. And now this guy's forced to run like an absolute idiot, like a child, through the fields of this child who's chasing a butterfly. You know, this man's hardly gonna be chasing a butterfly on his own. And I think, and this guy actually ends up crying. And that, again, that's what children are. children allow old men to become childlike again. Okay, when you see a child and you wonder, it's overabundance of joy in the smallest of things, and over the abundance of anger and other and things as well. But it allows you to see life with fresh eyes, so to speak, and that's is what new life is. He's bringing new life to the tradition. This old man is not crying over the head of a butterfly. Isn't that beautiful? And this guy's been changed. He's like, okay, I see what this kid's doing now. I'm going to take responsibility for that. And he's going to bring him up in the tradition now. And it's a give and take. It's like, how much tradition is too much tradition? How much running in a field chasing a butterfly is too much running in a field chasing a butterfly? It's balancing these things again. Oh, bam! It's balance. Now, this symbol. You should not be in the black parts. You should not be in the white parts. You should be in the border between. That's what it means. Does your life have an apt balance of order and chaos? I gave an example to a friend last night actually about this. Imagine a chess game. An example of chess game having too much chaos would be if there were no rules of the pieces or the how to win the game of chess. If I could say, well, actually, my king's invincible, my horse can teleport. Chess no longer exists. You've been engulfed in the great flood. The Noah's flood of chess, okay? There's no chess anymore. Too much chaos, too much potentiality. Salt water that kills. The other hand, yes, on the other hand, there aren't so many rules that every game of chess is the same. There's enough rules for the game to make sense, but there aren't enough rules for it to not be interesting. And that's part of what it, hopefully I'm explaining what the feminine means to you. It allows adventure of unknown territory. Because unknown territory is feminine. It's sort of like unknown fully, anyway, I think that explains it enough. Let's go back. And then this child is brought up in the ways. So if you imagine the child's like the potentiality of chaos, and this man's the over-order tradition, and there needs to be a compromise for both of them. So this guy, this child, he's also been brought up in the ways of these monks, and we're left with a picture of this child fitting this deer. Keep an eye on that for the future. This deer, and he gets communion, and then he looks up at wonder of another feminine character, Mary and Christ. And he's left in wonder at that. But I think that should be enough for tonight, for this episode. I will say, these first few pages, like these first 3 pages, you should know the narrative. If you're good at symbolism, you can look at this and be like, or at least until the baby comes, because that's blatantly obvious. You should be able to tell what the narrative is. It's okay. A group of people are succumbing to the elements of death, and in a bad way. They're not answering death correctly. and they're going to be revitalized with new life through the feminine. That's what the story is. The story plays itself out multiple times in the same story, but again, you should tell that this is going to be the main narrative. But anyway, this has been Green Monk, Beloved Martyrs. Hopefully that wasn't too rambly. Probably was quite bad. Probably approaching like half an hour mark or something crazy like that. I thought it was going to be like a 10-minute video. But anyway, on to the next one.